For a good reader, the life at the exam gets sweeter. So basically what we are going to deal with today is the reading part of the Russian state exam. We're going to look into some tips and tricks on working with this part of the exam. We're going to wait just about a minute more. I hope you're enjoying this beautiful month. The sun is shining. Hopefully everyone's got nice weather today. Wherever you are. I'm going to accept the rest, and yeah, we are starting out. So I'd like to start by acquaintance, of course, so we have to get to know each other a little bit better in order to establish our communication today better. Despite the fact that I cannot see you, I hope that today we will have some interaction still. Well, yeah, I'm going to start with some information about myself.
Hi, my name is Sadie.
Well, of course, if you want to, you can call me just like that. But for those who prefer more conventional names, my name is Polina. And as you can see on the slide, I study at Moscow State Pedagogical University at the Institute of International Education. So I study free of charge, so I don't pay for my studies, which hopefully is going to be somehow motivating for you, because I hope and I guess that each and every one of you want to kind of study free of charge. Yeah, so that's why you are here today, in order to get better results for your exams. Well, my major is English language teaching and economics, and I've been studying here for 2 years so far. So yeah, I'm finishing my second year. And in terms of my exam scores, so a little bit of myself in numbers, let's say. So I got 92 points for the Russian state exam in English. So for English, I got 92 out of 100. And for the reading part, if we are focusing on this one today, I got the maximum amount of points, of course. So, and that's why I decided to actually choose this topic. So, and my total score for the 3 subjects, which are Russian, social studies, and English, is 273 points. Well, thanks to our lovely university, I have managed to travel abroad, like to participate in an internship last year. And this internship happened in Dublin, in Ireland. So our university annually provides the students with opportunities to travel. So yeah, if you want to apply here, then you will be able to actually grasp this opportunity and also travel like for free and even get some money for this. And you can see my picture actually in Dublin. So hopefully you got that I'm on the left, not on the right. Yeah, and that's who I am. Happy to get acquainted with you. So if we talk about our today's agenda or our today's plan, we are going to start with a small quiz to check basically like how much you know about the reading part of the Russian state exam. Then we're going to look at the 3 whales of exam success. So basically what the success on the exam depends on, mostly like the 3 components of that. Then we're going to discuss the reading part structure. We'll move on to some strategies, and there is of course going to be practical part. And if you, by the end of our today's discussion, probably you will come up with some questions. And if you do, then I will be eager to answer them. Yeah, and quiz time, actually. The first question for you guys is, how many tasks are there in the reading part? So if you have any ideas, you can chat them. you can actually put them in the chat box so that I can see it. Okay, I'm receiving some replies already. Yeah. Someone else, I'm waiting a bit more. Would like to get a bit more answers. Okay. So far, everyone believes that there are 3 parts. Okay. The second question, we'll check that a bit later. So how much time do you have for the reading part in total? Like, of course, this time depends on you, but the exam suggests some time that you can spend on that. 30 minutes, 30 minutes. Okay, anyone else has other ideas? Okay, well, 30 minutes. Then do you have to be able to understand each and every word in the reading passage? Okay, got your points. Can we predict what a text will be about? Like, even before we start reading, can we actually have an idea about what the text is going to be about? Yes, only on last exercise. So you think that it's not applicable to each and every task, right? Only for the last exercise. Okay, thank you. So the first question, you were absolutely correct. The reading part of the exam consists of 3 parts, and we're going to look into each of them today. The next one, 30 minutes, again. The strike, absolute strike, the next one. So we don't have to be able, of course, like the exam is aimed at us for not to be able to understand each and every word. So that's how it works, and it's never possible to be able to understand that. And absolutely, we can predict what a text will be about, and I will share some of the strategies to do that with you today. So the 3 ways of passing the exam. Like during a huge amount of years, I would say that students have been taking this exam. A lot of research has been conducted, and it was found out that the exam success depends on the 3 main points. So first of all, of course, the 60% is the knowledge of the subject. So without the knowledge, well, it's quite doubtful that you will be able to pass it, of course. Then on the second place, we have exam strategies, right? So not only do you have to know the subject quite well to pass it, but also like your time management skills, the way you know how to deal with your time, how to deal with the tasks, so how to approach them. Yeah, so strategies are basically about the approach to the tasks. The next one is, of course, your psychological attitude. And as you can see, this point is pretty much like almost equal to your knowledge of exam strategies, right? So it's very important to come to the exam with such an attitude as I will be able to pass it, right? So we have to give ourselves some affirmations so that we can do it, we will be able to pass it. And that's really, really important. As you can see, the statistics doesn't like lie to us, right? Okay, so moving on to the structure of the reading part. You were absolutely correct when you told me, when you typed into the chat box, that the reading part consists of the three tasks, right? The first task is matching headings, the second one is gap text, and the third task is multiple choice. And for the whole reading part, you can get the maximum amount of 20 points, and the time allotted for you in these terms is 30 minutes. So as you can see at the exam, well, exam consists of 100 points, of course, and it is subdivided into 5 parts: listening, reading, Then we have use of English, writing, and speaking. And for each and every of these parts, you can get the maximum amount of points. So don't believe that there is something more important, something less important at the exam, because each and every part can give you the maximum of 20. So it's like 1/5 of the total amount of the points that you can get for the exam. And reading in this way, so if we consider it as the 1/5 of your exam, you can actually save some time for maybe some more time consuming activities on your exam, like the tasks, right? And we will discuss how to do it. So the first task is matching, right? As you can see here, so we have to match. Well, of course, it's like just a representation of the matching, but we are going to be talking about headings and texts. So we have to remember a couple of things here. Firstly, we have 8 headings, but only 7 passages. So one heading is going to be extra here. The maximum amount of points is 7. So as you write this sequence of letters, right, at your exam, there are only like 7 points that you can get and 7 spaces. So the suggested time frame for this task is 10 minutes, and it's subdivided like 10, 10, and 10 for each task. Some useful tips. Well, first of all, we have to read the headings before moving on to the texts, right? And also we have to find out what the texts have in common. Well, by doing that, we can actually predict the content of the texts and like to have a general idea of what the texts are going to be about. Next point, find the keywords. Keywords actually is my favorite word, so we're going to try and find some keywords today with you as well. And this very point can help you like truly a lot, but you don't have to, well, actually you have not to confuse them with the distractors, because there are some words that might confuse us a bit when we deal with this kind of tasks, and they might seem similar, but basically what the creators of exam do is they can actually make the synonyms in the headings and the synonymic word in the text. Well, they will not be expressed in the same way, but there will be the words that can be expressed in the same way, and it may be sometimes a bit confusing. The next point, try to guess what will be discussed in the text, right? And the keywords is a good thing to do this. The next one, carefully read each text. Don't put too much focus on the unfamiliar words, right? We already mentioned that today that it's just impossible to understand everything. And make sure that the extra heading is selected correctly. Well, if the text seems not understandable, skip it. Of course, not like on the whole skip it, right? Because you have to go back to it, that's for sure. Well, skip it just for now. Deal with the ones that seems the most easy for you just for now, and then go back to them. And follow the method of elimination. The method of elimination stands for like when you have some headings, right? And you, for example, know where to put the 3 of them, but like you have 5 of them resting, right? And you think, so I've got 5, then this one cannot be because I've already used this, right? So yeah, that's how we eliminate the possible options. So now we are moving on to a little bit of practice here, and I guess I'm gonna read this passage aloud, and your task will be to try and choose the best heading out of these 4 for this short passage. So think the color of food on your plate simply makes it pretty to look at, but makes no real impact on you. Think again. Our brains are hardwired to respond to color in food. So much, in fact, that sometimes we taste food according to its color, not its actual flavor. So I guess I'm gonna be waiting for about 1 minute in the chat box for you to type, or maybe just to write the number, because we have like 1, 2, 3, 4. So which one do you think fits best here? And the headings, we've got quite a visual experience, unusual but beneficial, fruits true, flavors revealed, and include the whole spectrum. Come on. Okay, do we have any other volunteers? Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Okay, I'm getting a lot of answers here. Very good. Okay, so most of you think that this is the first heading. And now I think I've got a question to you. What helped you to figure out that the heading is the first one actually? Could you just briefly type maybe from 2 to 3 keywords that helped you out here? At least one answer from the caller. Okay, very good. Okay, so we are not going to foods, of course. Right, well, guys, I can actually assure you that with the first task you dealt with quite perfectly today. So those who answered, everyone were correct. And this is, of course, the first heading that we have here. And I would say that the keywords would be, of course, the color of the food. And the main idea that helps us to understand it is that sometimes we taste food according to its color, not its actual flavor, right? So we have this visual experience of tasting food, basically, not the actual tasting of it. Okay, yeah, it is pretty to look at, of course. Thank you, right. The next task that we are going to look at is a gap text. It's task 11. So we have to, again, remember a couple of things. Well, even if we consider the fact that probably for some this task might seem a bit more difficult than the first one, this task can only give us 6 points, right? Because we have 6 gaps and 7 options. So again, one option is going to be extra. The maximum amount of points is 6. And the suggested time frame, as for the previous one, is 10 minutes. So moving on to some useful tips, we of course have to read the text through once, ignoring the gaps. So in order to get a better idea of what the text is basically about, yeah, we have to just have a look at it. The next point, look at the given parts of the sentences. So once we've just flicked through the whole text, then we have a look at the options that we have, right? In order to probably just have this introductory strategy for ourselves, right? Then we go back to the paragraph containing the gap and read it again, trying to answer the following 2 questions. Are there any references that can help you? And is there a linking word before or after the gap? Well, in terms of references, what are these? For example, I can say that I like the downtown of my city a lot. It reminds me of my childhood. And it, in this case, would be the reference to the downtown of my city, of my hometown, whatever I said, right? So it refers to the downtown. And the linking word, right? So the linking words can be otherwise, however, on the one hand, on the other hand, and so on. So I think as you are preparing for the Russian state exam, you know quite piles of these words, right? The linking ones. Okay. And when you've decided on your choice, please make sure that the sentence fits grammatically and follows the sense of the text, right? Not just hurry here. I know that some people prefer dealing with the writing parts first and then moving on to the reading part here because they think that it can take less time and we can actually rely on the fortune sometimes. But yeah, it's of course better to make sure that everything that you do correctly and you do properly, right? So don't give up on reading, guys. That's my main advice. Okay. And now we are going to move on to the practical part of this task. And here I would ask you to analyze the sentences and choose the correct answers. So our first sentence is, salt is extremely important. Life depends on it as much as on water or oxygen. What does the underlined it refer to? So it, what is this it? Is it life, is it salt, or is it importance? Okay, 2. Okay, right, so all of you actually so far think that this is number 2. We'll see it in a couple of moments. For now, the second question for you guys. However, people were not aware of just how much they needed salt until they discovered that it had a very practical use. What word cannot be used at the beginning of the sentence instead of however? But, earlier, or nevertheless? Nevertheless, so cannot be used, cannot be used. What word can we not start sentences with? 2 then. Okay. Any other ideas, guys? 2. Okay. No one thinks that it could be but. Well, okay, I guess no one thinks so. We'll see. And the third question for you is, if meat or fish could be kept in a barrel of salt or brine, the food could be stored for months without it going bad. What does the underlined it refer to here? Salt, food, or brine? Okay, I'm getting some answers too. So it's food, you think, okay. Anyone else would like to share 2? So another voice for 2, okay. So, well, yeah, all of you here again think that this is number 2. So a little bit controversial question that we've got is number 2, right? So the opinions a bit divided in these terms. So we'll see. And the fourth question, so salt became very valuable and demand began to exceed supply. What is the function of the second part of the sentence here? To contrast, to explain, or to give further information? Contrast, as you know, is like on the one hand, on the other hand, to explain, it's usually because, and to give further information is probably, okay, 3, I think. Any other ideas? Okay. Number 3. Well, I guess no other ideas here, right? So again, all of you think that this is number 3. So probably the only question here that arouses some questions in our head so far is the second one. And now we're going to look at the correct answers. So I hope that you remember the ones that you've put in our chat box for you to be able to check yourselves. And of course, I'm going to comment on each and every one. So in the first one, you were absolutely correct. This is salt, because yeah, salt is important. Life depends on what? On salt, because this is important, right? So it's again a reference, the thing that I was talking about a bit before. The next one is actually but. I don't know why, but no one of you decided that it could be but here. Well, the thing is that even when you write letters, it's then not applicable only to the reading part, but to the writing part as well. So we cannot actually, well, we can, of course, but it's not the best way to start the sentences with the word but, because usually these words should be used like in the second part of the sentence. I like chocolate, but I don't like sweets, for example, right? So it's inappropriate actually. So even I guess some points might be withdrawn from you if you start a sentence in your essay with this very word but. So bear that in mind. It's not a good idea to start the sentence with the word but. So the next one, food. Each and every one of you were correct. And here, of course, to give further information. So pretty well done. And the third part of the reading tasks, yeah, the reading section is like the multiple choice tasks, right? So where you have to choose the correct option out of the 4 given. We have to remember that here we have a huge text and 7 questions. And for this task, I would actually recommend you to probably save up more time that is suggested, because again, the time suggested is only 10 minutes. But if you deal with, let's say, headings, using our strategies, right? And with the second task a bit faster, then you can save up some more time for this task. For, in my opinion, it's more time consuming still because the text can be really huge. Well, I don't know about you, but I perceive them as huge ones. And some useful tips to deal with these tasks is to quickly read the text to get the general idea first. Next one is to read the first question and find the part which is relevant. So the strategy that we are using for reading here is actually called scanning. Well, first of all, you kind of get the general idea of this text. Well, basically, what is the text about? Yeah, you have to answer this question for yourselves. And then you kind of read the first sentence. What kind of information do I have to find? And then you go back to the text and you scan it for some specific information, because usually these questions deal with some specific information, probably the author's opinion, some research, some years, some competitors, and so on. So it depends on the topic of the text, of course. Our next tip is, once you found the part of the text which is relevant to the question, reread that part very carefully to understand the details. That's what I was basically talking about, right? So you have to get the specific information, which is somehow different from the first task, for instance, where we have to just focus on a couple of keywords and get the general idea of the text. This is quite different. Well, yeah. The next one, look at small details that can change the meaning of the whole sentence, such as conditionals, negatives, etc. For example, if you have a sentence with if in, let's say, the question section, and in the text you have unless, so you have to keep in mind that this is the opposite, right? So unless and if, they are the opposite, and you don't have to confuse those because sometimes we may not be able to probably spot these differences because we see, so I have like the main part of the information corresponds to that. So yeah, I tick that it is true or whatever, right? So I tick the answer, which after all may end up not being correct. And now we're going to move on to the practical part. And your task for now is going to be to find the sentence that means the same to the first one. So the first sentence for you, few people would disagree that one of the world's most popular dishes is pizza. And which sentence has the similar meaning? People don't consider pizza to be a popular dish, or people consider pizza to be a popular dish. The meaning should be similar. So please, again, type in your answers in the chat box so that we will be able to analyze them. Okay, the second one. Okay, getting more answers. The 3 most active people, the most dedicated ones. Anyone else? Come on, come on, come on. guys, there are 29 of you. And the ones who want to work are only the 3 people? I cannot believe that. Okay, joining in. And 1 more person. Okay, right, thank you. Well, the second one. It wasn't until he started secondary school that he became addicted to pizza. The first option. His addiction appeared as soon as he started secondary school, and he had had his addiction before he started secondary school. It wasn't until he started that he became addicted to pizza. We have to understand the meaning of this construction here. So what do you think, guys? Okay. So far, most of you think that this is number 1. Okay, so number 1 for all that have answered. And the third question. At Zach's school, pizza was the star dish and he couldn't get enough of it. Zach was happy to have pizza as the main dish in the school menu, and Zach thought there was not enough pizza in the school menu. So which option do you think is correct here? So most of you think that this is number 2. Does anyone have an idea that it could possibly be number 1? Tatiana, yes. So I would actually agree with Tatiana here. Yeah, and Sonia as well. This is number 1 actually. So we'll see when we check all the answers. Okay. In the fourth one, in a desperate attempt to break his addiction, he agreed to appear on a TV program. And the 2 options for you. When Zach turned to the possibility to take part in a TV show, he was hopeless about fighting his addiction. And the second one, Zach desperately wanted to take part in the TV show. So which options do you think might be applicable here? The first one or the second one? Number 1 so far is the leader. Okay. So anyone else would like to share their ideas? Number 1. Number 1 so far is the leader. Okay, so no one thinks that this could be number 2 here. Or do we have such people here? Okay, I think we don't. Well, and moving on to the correct answers. So here you were all of you actually who shared their thoughts. So Yulia thought, I guess this was about the last one. Yeah, you think that this is number 2. Okay, so we'll see and discuss. The first one. Of course, people consider pizza to be a popular dish, right? Because few means that the amount of the people who would disagree that one of the world's most popular dishes is pizza. So basically, a very small amount of people would say that pizza is not the most popular dish in the world, right? The second one, we have the first answer here. So his addiction appeared as soon as he started secondary school. So he started the school and then out of the blue, his addiction showed up. Well, yeah, all of you were correct here. And in numbers 3 and 4, the opinions subdivided somehow. So we'll see the correct answers now. In the third one, so those who thought that this is number 1, and I guess there were a couple of people who shared their thoughts at the end, right? So before we went on to the fourth question, so you were absolutely correct. Because Well, why? First of all, because in the second option, we do not, like in the initial sentence, we do not have this information that there was not enough pizza in Jack's opinion. Well, of course, he couldn't get enough of it, would mean that he just wanted more and more of it, right? But when we say that I can't get enough of something, it doesn't usually have the negative connotation that, oh my God, there is not enough pizza, right? Objectively, there was enough pizza and he couldn't get enough of it for himself. Well, we can say, I cannot get enough of my favorite songs. Well, of Eminem in my case, right? And yeah, so Zach was the same. He couldn't get enough of pizza, but he was happy to have it. And the fourth one, when is number one. Yeah, so most of you were right, and there was only one option, like only one person who thought that this is number two, but still, this is number one. So when Jack turned to the possibility to take part in a TV show, he was hopeless about fighting his addiction. The second sentence doesn't provide us with the information about his addiction, because as you probably might have guessed already, the text, well, the text that these extracts were taken from deals with Zach and his addiction to food, right, to pizza, and some TV show that started to film him, like to film his fighting with this addiction, right? So we have to keep that in mind so that everything is interconnected and we cannot get out of the basic topic of our text. So hopefully everything is clear now. And yeah, first of all, I would like to thank you a lot for your active participation today and for your being quite attentive, I hope. And hopefully this webinar helped you somehow. And now I'm, of course, eager to answer your questions if you have any. So yeah, I'm gonna be waiting a bit. Thank you. It was my pleasure having you all here today. Thank you as well. How many points do you have for the social studies exam? Well, for the social studies, I've got 90 points. Yeah, so a bit less than for English, but still. Thank you as well, guys. Thank you. So nice to get such comments. I'm really glad. I'm feeling as if I'm blushing. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. What languages do you know? Well, I wouldn't say that I know any language completely, but I speak Russian, of course. I guess I speak a little bit of English, and I guess my German is on A2 level, something of that kind. Okay, so I'm gonna be waiting for about 1 more minute for your questions. If you don't have any, by the way, which task do you think is the most difficult one from the reading part? Which is the most difficult for you to tackle? Last task. Okay. So now you know how to deal with it. Okay, well, some questions not relating to the exam, but yeah. So I started, last one is tricky for sure, but now you know better how to deal with it, hopefully, right? We have to search for the grammatic constructions and the combination of the general meaning. I started learning German about 1.5 years ago. Okay, the last task seems to be the most difficult one. Okay, so I guess that no one more has any questions. And again, I would like to thank you all guys for being present here today. It was my pleasure having you all, and I wish you the nice end of this day. Thank you.